There are moments that, if they hadn't been filmed, nobody would believe someone could be capable of doing. It can be in the form of a personal moment or even embarrassing situations that ended up on social media, possibly without the protagonist's permission. From disastrous dates to epic fails nobody wanted leaked, with really bizarre cases, these are the moments you will watch today. It was supposed to be an intimate moment, but it ended up becoming an internet meme. It all started when a guy, full of good intentions, decided to walk the girl to her doorstep after a date. In the slightly awkward atmosphere, the two stayed there until he tried something more romantic. He gently ran his hand through her hair, as if wanting to pull her in for a kiss. But clearly, she wasn't on the same wavelength. The girl pulled away, brushed his hand off, and in an attempt to end the awkwardness, offered a simple handshake, like someone who says thanks and moves on. Without even looking back, she went inside and shut the door, while the guy stayed there, frustrated, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He accepted the moment and left, probably thinking it was all just a misunderstanding. To make matters worse, her home security camera captured everything, and instead of keeping it private, she decided to post the video on social media, making fun of the strange vibe and the guy's disappointed expression. And so what was just a tense situation between two people turned into entertainment for thousands of strangers. In a wig store that had security cameras everywhere, there was no gap for anything to go unnoticed. But that wasn't enough to discourage a woman. She arrived calmly, wearing a satin cap and holding a wallet, looking like just another regular customer. She walked around the shelves, checking the displayed models, until she chose the wig she wanted. The problem is, instead of paying, she decided to do things quite differently. With impressive speed, she took the wig off the mannequin, turned her back to one of the hallway cameras, and hid the product inside her pants, exactly in her private parts. And that wasn't all. After securing the item, she even patted the area to check if the bulge would seem suspicious. All this while, the cameras recorded every detail. Of course, the store didn't let it slide. The video was examined, and as happens so often these days, it ended up on the internet. It didn't take long for the footage to go viral, with people commenting on the woman's audacity, an example of how some people have no limits. A FedEx truck was arriving to make a delivery. In the yard of a nearby house, dogs were excited, as they always get when they see something unusual in the neighborhood. The driver parked the van in front of a house, got out, and went to do his job. But because he forgot something, trouble ensued. The van, which had been parked, began to move on its own, rolling in reverse. The reason? The driver had forgotten to engage the parking brake. When he noticed what was happening, he ran desperately after the vehicle, trying to prevent a bigger accident. Meanwhile, the dogs in the yard just stood still, as if trying to figure out that confusing scene. Luckily, the van didn't cause much damage. It hit the door against a tree and brushed past a house. The scare was big, but the driver was fortunate nothing worse happened. However, what should have been just a lesson learned got captured by a neighbor's security camera. In no time, the video landed on the internet, exposing the slip-up to thousands of people who commented on the blunder. A mistake that would have been used as a personal lesson, likely to go unnoticed, took on huge proportions simply because someone thought it would be funny to share. In Pacific Heights, a fancy neighborhood in San Francisco, when Lisa Alexander, the chief executive of a skincare brand, saw James Juanillo writing Black Lives Matter in chalk on the sidewalk, she found it strange and decided to question him without knowing he was the owner of the house. Accompanied by a friend, she asked if the property was his. When James confirmed, she doubted him and, without thinking, said she would call the police. The video of the moment was recorded by James and posted on social media. The footage showed Lisa insisting James had no right to write there. Even though he explained he wasn't doing anything wrong, she called the police, alleging it was private property. James, who has lived in the area for 18 years and knows many of the local officers, knew he wouldn't be taken seriously. Sure enough, when the police arrived, they didn't even get out of the car, as they knew he was the homeowner. But the story didn't end there. The video quickly went viral, sparking outrage. Millions of people watched and criticized Lisa for her behavior, accusing her of racism. The backlash was so intense that her company, LaFace Skincare, had to take its website down, and partners announced they were cutting ties. Lisa, realizing the magnitude of the problem, released a public apology. She admitted she should have minded her own business and acknowledged that her actions were racist. In her statement, she said she was shocked by her own behavior when rewatching the video and promised to reflect on racial inequality. Imagine ordering food, but when the delivery arrives, a huge argument starts. That's what happened between a customer and a delivery driver, turning a simple food handover into a viral fight.
I hope you get fired. Oh, yeah? Wow.
It all began when the customer asked the delivery driver to bring the food up to his apartment, but the driver said he couldn't go upstairs. The customer didn't like it one bit and started pressing the guy, asking him to make an exception. The conversation heated up quickly. The customer, who was annoyed, began insulting the driver, saying he was doing his job wrong. The driver, on the other hand, tried to keep calm, explaining he couldn't go up, but the customer wouldn't stop insisting. The tension peaked when the customer threatened the driver, saying he would lose his job for not doing his service properly. The situation got so intense that the delivery driver handed over the food in a reckless way, which only made the customer even angrier. Of course, the video made its way to social media and grabbed the attention of thousands of people. As always, internet users started to weigh in on who was right or wrong. Some defended the driver, saying he was just following the job's rules and couldn't be blamed for the customer's complaint. Others thought the customer was overreacting, treating the driver aggressively for no real reason. In the end, the fight turned into something bigger, with divided opinions on who was truly in the wrong. What seemed like a calm day for a guy who just wanted to test his drone turned into something completely unexpected. He went out for a spin and, in a very isolated area, saw a blue car parked. Inside it, a couple was enjoying a private moment, probably never imagining that something could go wrong in such a remote place. As soon as the drone appeared above the car, its buzzing caught their attention, and they realized they were being filmed. Their reaction was immediate and not exactly polite. They started making gestures and swearing, trying to chase the drone away, clearly annoyed by the invasion of privacy. But instead of backing off and letting things cool down, the drone owner found it amusing and decided to keep filming. He seemed to delight in seeing the couple grow more irritated by the situation. The couple, not knowing what else to do, decided to leave and drove onto the road, thinking the drone would go away. But the drone followed the car, practically escorting them to the main road. The drone owner seemed to be having even more fun with that, showing no sign of stopping. This kind of scene is a classic example of how technology, when used intrusively, can turn someone's private moment into a public spectacle, leaving people completely vulnerable to exposure. Just imagine what happened when a family found out what their housekeeper was doing while she was there to wash the dishes. A security camera ended up capturing something totally gross. The woman, who was there to do the dishes, ended up using one of the dishes to pee in, right there in the kitchen. That's right, she relieved herself standing up, and on top of that, poured the waste into the sink before carrying on as if nothing had happened. What's most shocking is that she didn't even realize she was being filmed. If she had, maybe she would have acted differently. But the fact is, the situation was caught on camera, and, as expected, the footage ended up on social media, causing general outrage. The family's shock at seeing what happened was immediate, since, in a place that should be about trust and respect, the employee acted completely clueless and unhygienic. And to make it worse, after the recording was shared, the housekeeper had no way to defend herself. It was a bizarre mistake, and the situation only got worse because of the online exposure. A guy who was tired of what was happening around his house decided to conduct a real investigation in his neighborhood. That's what happened with a resident of Sacramento who decided to install security cameras on light posts to record everything that went on in the park near his home. Initially, the idea was to protect his house and family, but he ended up becoming the center of a huge controversy. This man, known in the neighborhood as Marty, started filming everything he saw, and what he caught wasn't pretty. Instead of just capturing people strolling around, he began recording couples getting intimate outdoors, in plain sight of anyone passing by. The strangest part is that he didn't just film them, he made sure to share these images, either handing them over to the police or posting them online. On top of that, he caught minors using substances and drinking, which only fueled the controversy. He even confronted some couples in the middle of their activities, saying he was just protecting the neighborhood and that any video he took would help keep the area safe. The problem is, not everyone believed he was in the right. While some neighbors seemed to support him, saying he was acting for security's sake, many others felt he was simply invading people's privacy, and that filming intimate moments was completely inappropriate, especially when followed by sharing. Not everyone feels comfortable knowing that every move they make in public could be recorded and exposed to the world. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.